Okay, what is happening, guys? This video is going to be an update video on mostly the interior type of stuff for the rough-in, like the electrical and some other little projects that I had been working on since the last time we were here. So without further ado, let me kind of just explain how I'm setting up the electrical system here. It's I've got solar panels on the roof. I will show you that in a second. There's 4 of them. I think I have around 400 kilowatts up there, and piped it down into the camper, and I have my setup down in this area here. So let me give you an orientation. We're in the back of the camper, coming in through the back door, and I'm going to have a bench over here, a bigger bench, it's wider over in this area, and then a smaller bench over here, which is a little bit more narrow, and that will actually act as a step to go up there, that kind of a deal. And then I got my sink area over here, and this area over in this area here is going to be where the cooler is, some more shelving, enough stuff like that. So but as far as the electrical system, it is all solar powered, and I just drew a schematic. I'll put a nicer picture when I make the video, but I just did that here. And what happens is that the solar comes in from the rooftop on these 2 wires here, goes into the solar charge converter, and that's the 60 amp or 30 amp, I'm sorry, 30 amp. And from there it's going to go to this circuit breaker. I don't have that wired quite yet. That will be able to switch on and off the batteries and on and off the solar, and I'll explain why that's important in a minute. So from here it's going to go to the batteries. I don't have that hooked up quite yet, but I don't need to. So I have 2 100 amp hour LiPo 4 batteries, and they seem to be doing pretty well. So from there I have two lines going into the 12 volt box, diverter box, and these have actual fuses in them as well. I don't know if you can see that fuse right there. So I bought 2. I didn't know, because this is my first build, if I would need both. They're relatively inexpensive, but that's the way I did it. So I basically am using this one to jump into this one right here, and from there all my lines go out to wherever I have 12 volt, and I'll show you kind of like how I have that roughed in as well. Now I did paint this area. You can see the rest of the area isn't painted, so I painted this area ahead of time, you know, just generally in order to give it some protection from moisture and stuff like that before I actually put the components in. Okay, so from the batteries also run on these larger, these are probably like 4 gauge or something like that. These actually came with the power inverter, if you saw the unboxing video. So I got the positive and negative running from the batteries over to the inverter, and the inverter is a solar charger and an inverter, but I'm just using it as an inverter for the time being. So from there I had, this is 120 volts now coming out of here. So I was going to put in kind of a box, you know, like a residential kind of box, but I decided against that, and I'm just using these plug outlets, you know, and I have one that goes over onto this side for use on that side of the camper, and this unit actually comes with a couple of USBs as well if you want. I don't plan on using those, but the nice thing about this is that you can actually turn those on and off as well. So there's, you know, another area where you have a little bit more control. So one goes over there, and then this one goes over onto this side here, and from there, those just click on in the back. From there you can plug in, and you can see like I ran Romex. I actually have, I think, 4 120 volts. So I got a 120 volt over here, and that's going to run the AC. That's almost only going to be dedicated to the AC. Right now I'm just using a little fan because it gets kind of hot in here. So I got one here, that's where on the back side of the camper, and then I have another one here that's roughed in. That'll look all nice with a faceplate. And then I have another one here, same thing, just roughed in, and I roughed it in just like I would, you know, regular household. And then right here in the back corner, I have another one, and I actually have it on switch. Okay, so you see that? So this switch then goes into this 120 volt outlet, which controls my exhaust fan. So one of the goals, one of them, I've tried to stay true. I'm not perfect, but I tried to stay true to the original purpose of this build, or like theme of the build, which was to try to use as many common pieces, parts as possible to build this camper. And I also tried to incorporate and use the stuff that I had sitting around anyway from other projects, and I have, for the most part, stuck true to that. But instead of a magic fan, I actually had this 6-inch duct booster right here fan, or exhaust fan. So so I mounted it up high, you know, because heat rises. So I mounted it up high. It's also kind of over the food area, so you know, if you had some smell or whatever, it could go out that way. And then let me show you what I did. I'm digressing a little bit from the electrical, but this is again the back of the camper. And what I did is I 3D printed this transfer unit, because I couldn't get one that would go from a 6-inch to a 4-inch in that type of radius. So I just did a transfer right there. And then on the outside, there's a little port on the outside. So I hope that made sense. So that's going to be my exhaust for just kind of like, you know, ventilation and stuff like that in here. Hopefully I won't need it, because some of the other stuff I did too is I did install the windows, and you know, the windows open and close, and they have screens in them. I just got that off of Amazon, and as you guys know, I'm never a sponsor of any of these people at all. I'll tell you if it's good, bad, or ugly. So same thing with this. This one is like an egress. So I guess if you couldn't get out the door, you could get out this this window here, and it actually says exit on it. Isn't that kind of funny? So, but anyway, it's a nice picture window, and it'll let in a lot of light and stuff like that. And it has a nice screen on there as well, so it'll keep out the bugs as well. So, so I think, I'm hoping, oh, I got another one on the door, and then this goes up and down the window, and this also has a screen on it. And I put this in here on purpose because, all right, let me get this in there. Might as well switch over to this now, because as you guys know, I have a Dutch door. So I did some work on the Dutch door. And there is the back of the camper with the Dutch door on it. Had a little raccoon try to get in. Isn't that funny? Those little paw prints. But on the Dutch door, I installed 2 handles side by side right there. You see that? 2 side by side instead of just, I don't know how people are like solving that issue with these Dutch doors. But I wanted to be able to like kind of like open and close them like at the same time, and also like put a decent amount of sometimes you got to pull it just a little bit because it's a little tight at the bottoms. So I have these handles right here, and you can stick your fingers in and then just kind of, you know, push it in, right? And I thought that was nice. And then the same thing for when you open it, it opens at the same time. Then in the back, what I'm using is this little toggle bolt. So I mean, they do swing, you know, independent of each other, and that's the whole purpose. So if you have the tailgate up, you know, that can be closed, And this one can be open if you want, but when the tailgate is closed, and if you're inside, you can actually close that, open this, and then you can reach down and close the tailgate, and then close this. You follow what I'm saying? So when you're parking somewhere, if you need to, you can close the tailgate and still be able to get in the camper. Because if it wasn't this Dutch door, you couldn't do that. So anyhow, so this window right here is, some people have said on these kind of like Dutch doors, you know, scenarios on these campers, well, what would happen if some jerk came all around and shut your tailgate? Would you get locked in? Or something happened? I don't know. So my solution was to put in this window right here, just as yet another safeguard. Is I can remove this and reach down with my hand and physically open the tailgate, if that makes sense. So if somehow this gets stuck or what have you, I can't get out, I can at least reach my hand, and this opens and closes, so I can at least reach my hand from here and reach down and then unlock the tailgate and it'll fall down. So that was my solution to kind of like the the tailgate problem. Excuse me one second. The tailgate problem, and I think it'll work fine. It'll work fine. So I'll also get a couple of door handles on the door on the inside as well. Okay, so let's take you through the rest of the rough-in electrical system. As you can see, I did insulate quite a bit, and I have some great stuff that I got to trim out a little bit. But what we're going to have is, we're going to have 4 of these lights right here, this type of light. So one's going to be up here, another one's going to be over there, another one is going to be above the kitchen, and then another one is going to be above kind of like the main sitting area or what have you. And that is actually controlled when you come in the back door. That turns on and off, and then it's also a dimmer too. So so right now it's on high, but let's say you don't want it that high, you can dim it all the way down pretty far, and then you can also turn it off. So so I like that ability. I mean, sometimes you don't want like really bright light when you're trying to do something. So I did that, and then I also installed a toggle switch right here, and this toggle switch controls this outdoor light. So if in the middle of the night, this toggle switch actually lights up. It's not connected yet to the power source, but that toggle switch actually lights up right there, that little bead, and I can turn on the outdoor light. And then same thing here with this bank. Oh, there we go. So you can see it tells me my voltage. I got 13 volts. And then I have easy on off. And then this has USB charging, which is kind of nice. I like that blue, and I paid to get the blue so it matches. I used this in my boat. It was really nice. I liked it. And then same thing there for the kind of like the cigarette lighter type of charger. And that's really common, those kind of cigarette lighter kind of chargers, for like if you're blowing up like air mattresses or like anything, if you're going to go out tubing or whatever, they use that really common. So I strategically placed that on this wall right here, right as you come in, because if I need that kind of power, I can just run the cord right out there, and it'll be very convenient. So so I'm very happy about that, and I'll paint that up and trim it out. Ran all the wires behind, insulated really well. And then I did build out these little boxes right here, and this is just poplar. I'll paint this with like a little 0.5 millimeter or 0.4 millimeter board behind it. And the reason I did that is that these are the 2x4s here, and I had this room, as you can see anyway. So I'll probably put some kind of like slats or something maybe right here. And you can always put in some type of like you know, iPhone or iPad or, you know, magazines, whatever you want. There's always nice little cubby for that. So same thing, right next to it, there's another little cubby area there. I'm not going to do it down here because that's where the hitch, or the what do you call it? That's where you raise and lower the trailer on the. I did the same thing on this side over here. Let me try to get a little bit of light for you guys, a little bit more light. So did the same thing over here on this side. As you can see, these were 2x4s as opposed to just the, you know, 2x2s that were on the outside of that over for the main framing. And I'll put in, you know, some type of storage will go in here or what have you. The ice chest will fill out most of that, so this part here won't be too much, but up here we'll have a nice little cubby for something. Again, I'm not sure what, you know, you could store spice or whatever, who knows. But anyhow, moving on to the rough-in electrical. This is the controller for the heating, for the heater. And for the heater, I have the V-bore. I did this in the unboxing as well. I built like a little, what do you call it, bracket in there for the V-bore to sit on. Because with these V-bores, there's components that go underneath it. And there's 3 components that go underneath it. I'm trying to get some light in here so you guys can see. So there's three components that go underneath that heater, and one is this metal, and that's the exhaust line right there, and that you need to keep away from anything that's flammable. So I actually built like this little shield around here for my wires. I don't think it'll generate that much heat, but it is an exhaust. I think it's double lined, I'm not sure. But you got to get that diesel fumes out of the camper where you're at, the habitable area. But at the same time, you also need incoming fresh air. So this line right here, which is a black flexible line, that goes on the outside. And I'll show you how I handled that. I actually 3D printed a specialty air intake for that. And the system that it comes with is, I didn't like it. It's kind of like large. It's a large apparatus. I think I can find that here. It kind of looks like this, but it doesn't exactly look like this. It's round. I'll show it to you in a second. So it was, you know, these things are usually designed to like go underneath like a truck chassis or something, so you really wouldn't see it. But in this situation, I didn't really have anywhere to run it, so I custom made something and I bought an aftermarket part. So I'll show you those on the outside. But it also has the line, which is the, you can see that, it's like a greenish line right there. And that brings in the actual diesel itself, which is on the other side. So, but this is the control then that you hook up, and that's going to go up in this area. So you got to rough all that in, you know, before you start, you know, putting the walls together. So let's take a look outside real quick. So this is that fresh air intake I 3D printed, and it's just hollow right in there, and then it goes in and connects to that black incoming fresh air input. And then this is aftermarket part that I bought, and I think I paid around $20 for it. I'll leave a link in the description. And that is that's for the exhaust. That's for the exhaust. So you want to keep those separate because you don't want to suck in, you know, the exhaust into your fresh air. I don't think it would matter a ton, but you don't want to do that. So I kept those separate, but I did not like how that fresh air intake is. This is the normal fresh air intake right here. Okay, and I mean, what was I gonna do? Put that out, you know, like that or something? Like what? And I can't put it underneath there because that's where the truck bed is. So this is what I came up with. I just 3D printed that. Maybe I'll put that up on Thingiverse if you guys, you know, want that or whatever. But that was my solution. It's really nice having a 3D printer. So, sorry, got some sawdust and stuff around here. Okay, so here is the setup for the diesel tank and then also the little diesel pump, how I handled it. So obviously the heater is on the other side of this wall right here. So this is the diesel tank right here. And when you pull up next to the gas station, you'll be able to, you know, undo the cap, put the diesel in there. That's why these are hinged on this side as opposed to the door being here, because you'll pull up on this side. So kind of thought that through. And then there's the line that comes through. And then this is actually the pump right here. That's the diesel fuel pump that goes to the diesel heater. And it obviously needs to have an electrical to operate the electric pump. So that's what that is as well. So that goes inside to that little cubby area where I just showed you. And one of the main reasons I put this out here, well, there's a few. I didn't want to put petroleum products inside the living area. I just don't want to have the fumes and the smell and stuff like that. And not just from operating all the time, but also from, like, you know, filling it up. I don't want to bring that stuff into where, you know, I live, basically, right? So another reason is that I have heard, I don't know, but I have heard that these diesel heater pumps can be a little loud, like a click, 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 click kind of deal, you know, when they're pumping. So so I wanted to put that outside. I'm kind of a light sleeper. I don't like a lot of noise when I sleep or whatever. It bothers me. So I wanted to remove that from the living quarters as much as I could. So so that's it right there. This is like a lot of work that was done, chasing all these wires all the way around and putting them all in and like configuring this whole system right here, you know, testing them to make sure that they work, etc., 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 before you put on the skin on the inside of the camper, which is next, and the insulation is it's kind of a big deal. It takes a lot of time. It's tedious. So I also did running lights on the outside of the camper. I'll show you that. And you had to run those through and then to outside of the roof. So you have to think about that. And I also put in several just USB ports. So there's going to be a USB port right here. That's why that's roughed in there. Same thing right there, right next to the 120. That'll be a 12-volt USB port. And then the same thing right there. And then obviously there's you know, there's another one right there. So there should be plenty of like kind of like charging areas for phones and gizmos and whatnot. So so overall I'm very happy. Everything does work with the rough end. That was another thing. You know, you want to test it before you put the sheathing on just to make sure that this stuff works. Okay, so one of the other things I did is that the running lights for the camper are actually going to be plugged into the back of the pickup truck. So they'll, you know, when you turn on the lights on the pickup truck or whatever, it'll turn on the lights for the camper, the running lights. And what I had to do is actually got, you know, one of these little pigtails right here, and that will go right into the camper, and that goes through this little port right here. I got one on this side, and then I have one over there on that side. So what that looks like is that. Isn't that nice? I thought that was kind of cool. So you can turn that, you can put that down. If you don't have a wire in there, that also goes down. Same thing over here. Sorry. Same thing over here. This is an access port there. A couple potato bugs. and drilled that in, and that goes right into the camper. And when it's not in use, you just put it down and it closes. So I don't think I'll have any problems with that. But one of the reasons I wanted to have that is because this goes back to our original conversation earlier. One of the reasons I have that is because I wanted to be able, sorry, this is just, so one of the reasons I had that, this goes back to our original kind of plan here, is that this circuit breaker, I'm going to be able to turn the power off from coming from the solar, and I want to be able to use shore power to run the battery system. So with a flip of a switch, I can turn all the solar off, and then I can run my line through this little port over here, and I'll be able to have shore power, and that will really help out a lot. You know, if there's an extra long cloudy day, I do plan on using this during the winter to go skiing and stuff. So, you know, maybe there's like ice or snow or something like that on the solar panels, and I just need to get the batteries charged. Lots of different scenarios for that. So, so I wanted to have that option. So that's why I put in those little ports down there. So, so this was 27 minutes or something so far on the video. Apologize that it's a little bit longer than the regular videos, but it covered just so many things on the update. So if there's something that I haven't done yet or I haven't done right, let me know in the comments. I'm always, you know, this is my first build. I think I'm doing how I want to build it, and also I'm doing a decent job. But if I'm not, let me know. If I can improve, I'm all about constructive criticism. So, but thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the series. There definitely are many more videos to come on the build series, which will hopefully be done soon. And then also then with the adventures of using the slide-in truck camper. So, so again, thanks for watching. Hope you guys have a great day. Hey, I totally forgot to show you the top part of the electrical system, which arguably is kind of the most important. Let's take a look at the solar real quick, and also the running lights, which I thought were pretty cool. I also 3D printed those. So here's the front of the camper, and these are little running lights. I had those left over from my dump truck that I had, actually. So I 3D printed those, and then I used these in the front. I have red ones in the back. But up here is the solar array, and it all got fixed in, cable tied. I might do something to secure those wires a little bit more. And then those wires come in through two mains that go in to the unit itself, and that's just kind of a standard little block. And these up here are basically 400. I think I have 400 total. I think those are 100 a piece. So I know you can get, you know, bigger and better ones or whatever, but I had two sitting around anyway. And again, the theme of the truck is to try to, you know, use what you have and that kind of stuff. But yeah, so those come in through here, the wires, through the roof, and then go down, and they make their way in, and they'll go into the solar charge controller. So, but yeah, I had a couple of those anyway in boxes, so I just bought two more. They're relatively inexpensive. I think they're Renogy or something like that. It doesn't matter. So hopefully that'll be enough. I think 400 will be enough for me for this camper. If not, then, you know, like I said, you got that shore power option as well, or maybe try to take some off of the battery, off of the, you know, alternator or something like that. We'll figure that out. But I think for now 400 will be enough. I think it'll be enough. So again, thanks for watching. Take it easy. Have a good day.